What's a bedtime story your parents told you, and now you realize it was messed up? Growing up, my mom and dad would tell me and my little sister this special story that was supposedly passed down through our family for generations. They called it the Kind Whisper Lady, and would only tell it on nights when I was being particularly difficult about going to bed. The story went like this. In a neighborhood just like ours lived a lady who loved children more than anything in the world. She had the most beautiful garden where she grew the most amazing flowers and vegetables. But she was very lonely because she never had children of her own. During the day, she would watch the neighborhood kids playing from her window and feel sad. But at night, that's when the magic happened. The Kind Whisper Lady would leave her house after all the parents went to sleep. She would float through the air, yes, float, and visit the windows of children who were still awake past their bedtime. If she saw a child playing or reading instead of sleeping, she would tap on their window very gently, and when they looked, she would smile and whisper to them. According to my parents, her whispers were so beautiful and enchanting that children would immediately want to go with her. She would hold out her hand, and if the child opened the window and took it, she would bring them back to her magical garden, where they could play forever and never have to sleep. Here's where it gets weird, or weirder, I guess. My parents would always end the story by saying that while it seemed like the Kind Whisper Lady was offering something wonderful, the children who went with her were never seen again, and that their parents would wake up the next morning to find their beds empty and spend the rest of their lives crying and missing their children. Then my mom would always look at me very seriously and say, "That's why you need to be asleep when she comes. If you're sleeping, she'll just smile, blow you a kiss, and move on to find another child who's still awake." I legit believed this story until I was like 8 or 9. My parents went all out with it too. Sometimes if I was being super resistant to bedtime, my dad would go outside and tap very lightly on my bedroom window, and my mom would whisper, "Do you hear that? I think she's here." I would dive under my covers and squeeze my eyes shut. One time when I was around 6, I woke up in the middle of the night needing to pee, but was too scared to get out of bed because I thought I heard whispering outside my window. I ended up wetting the bed, and when my mom found out why, instead of telling me the truth, she praised me for making the right choice by staying in bed. She said, "Better to have wet sheets than to disappear forever," like it was some kind of life lesson. The story affected me in so many ways. I developed this intense bedtime anxiety and would force myself to fall asleep as quickly as possible. I never wanted sleepovers at friends' houses because I was afraid their parents wouldn't know how to keep the Kind Whisper Lady away. I kept my window locked all the time, even during hot summers. My sister Megan had it even worse. She's 2 years younger than me, and she believed the story until she was like 11 or 12. She would cry if our parents weren't home at bedtime because she thought only they knew how to keep us safe from the lady. Last week, I was visiting my parents and found some of my old drawings while going through childhood stuff in my old room. There were dozens of pictures I'd drawn of the Kind Whisper Lady. In all of them, she had this creepy smile and long fingers reaching toward windows. But the really disturbing thing? In some of the drawings, she looked exactly like our neighbor Ramona, who lived across the street when we were kids. Ramona was this older woman who lived alone and had this amazing garden she was always working in, but she was kind of odd and kept to herself mostly. I suddenly remembered that around the time my parents started telling us this story, Ramona had offered to babysit me and my sister a few times, and my parents always declined. I called my sister right away and asked if she remembered the story and the drawings. She did, and she also remembered something I'd completely forgotten. One night when we were kids, we saw our dad arguing with Ramona at the edge of our yard. We couldn't hear what they were saying, but he seemed really angry. So I finally asked my mom about it. She finally admitted that they started telling us that story after they found out Ramona had been coming to our windows at night and trying to talk to us when we were supposed to be sleeping. Apparently Ramona had some mental health issues and had become fixated on me and my sister. She'd lost a daughter years before and somehow decided we were meant to be her children. Instead of just telling us the truth or IDK calling the police, my parents created this elaborate horror story to make sure we'd stay away from our windows and never engage with Ramona if she came by at night. They were afraid if they told us the truth, we'd either be too scared to sleep or we'd feel bad for her and talk to her anyway.